Yak-130. Next few decades, it will continue to be a base trainer of Russian Air Forces. It is a star of international air shows. A radio-controlled scale model of Yak-130 is the pride of RUSJET Sport Club. The model was constructed especially for participation in the international aeromodeling competitions. It is one-third scale model equipped with 2 turbine engines. As far as accuracy of building is concerned, it has no analogs in the world. A builder and a pilot of this unique model is Vitaly Robertus. He made his first steps in aeromodeling when he was 7. Soon, with the help of his parents, his hobby brings the first results. Vitaly becomes a flat kite champion of Yevpatoria city. Later, he also becomes a champion of many regional control line model competitions in Soviet Union. Vitaly graduated from high school with a gold medal for academic excellence. Then he entered the Moscow Aviation Institute, the prestigious gas turbine faculty. Once again, he successfully graduated from the institute with the honors. Engineering and aviation education is an important factor in the professional development of flying radio control models. Thus, eventually Charles' hobby became a serious devotion of a lifetime. The advent of model turbine engines opens up new directions and prospects. On 7 September 2002, a first Russian jet model Grapner hotspot with a JetCat P-80 reached the sky. Vitaly Robertus becomes a founder of a jet modeling in Russia. Soon the aviation sport club RUSJET was founded, and 5 years later Vitaly becomes one of the top 10 world pilots. Today, RUSJET Club is the best in Russia and one of the most successful in the world. Vitaly Robertus is a chief pilot of the club. He is 6-time national radio-controlled scale model champion, 4 times world vice champion, the world jet models champion in 2011. Predecessors of Yak-130 were created on the basis of commercial kits with a further high level of rebuilding. Plane F-15 is one of them. It is not an easy task to pilot this model due to high specific loads on the wing and high landing speed. Nevertheless, several years Vitaly successfully pilots F-15 in the World F4C Championships in the category of up to 15 kilograms. A plane model of British Aerospace Hawk is presented in a giant scale and Jet World Masters category up to 20 kilograms. In the Jet World Masters competitions, these models are called B-class. The model was also updated and equipped with a high-quality documentation. With the help of Hawk, Vitaly Robertus was a silver medalist in the Jet World Masters in 2007, 2008 and 2010. This very model managed to receive the highest static score at the Jet World Masters in 2009. However, in spite of great achievements, there was no getting away from the fact that the models, maximally updated and means of detailing and technology, couldn't provide a significant breakthrough in competitions. It is impossible to perfect a model of the best kit due to its rooted inaccuracy and some errors of constructional elements. To be an absolute winner in the battle with the strongest model builders, a different solution is needed. Many years' experience of piloting and participating in the world, European and national championships helped to find the solution: the Yak-130 RUSJET Project. Of course, a kit is an optimal variant for the first steps in the world of Jet World Masters Championships. But sooner or later, you're faced with the limits of the model updating. For a confident win, we need to construct a model from the scratch using our own developments and accurate drawings with complete or even excessive documentation and photos of the prototype. A scale of the model is also very important. The smaller the prototype, the bigger scale you can apply to a model. Therefore, more details of high quality can be reproduced. A model of a bigger scale has better flying characteristics and provides a safe flight and landing at lower speeds. Typically, jet models have high specific loads on the wing. This usually leads to a high-speed flight, especially during the landing, unlike the piston engines models. It complicates the piloting and creates a poor visual perception of the flights. Of course, when choosing a prototype, a great amount of other factors should be taken into account. The final choice of the prototype was done after the demonstration of the new Yak-130 trainer at the International Airshow MAX 2007. The new Yak became an ideal prototype not only because of its flight performance and design. National development and production of the prototype became one of the advantages of this choice. In addition, a model of the Yak-130 in the next championships would be the only one among the participants and the first in the world. Yak-130 RUSJET Project, like any non-standard and original idea, was an incredibly brave decision. After all, they had to construct a model from the scratch using their own developments, then they had to carry out necessary tests to work out a flight program and prepare documentation. Nevertheless, the decision was made, and a noble aim and desire to win encouraged them and boosted confidence and success.
Строить нужно было две модели.
We had to construct two models instead of one. The first one is for testing and training flights, the second one is for competition. Both have exactly the same flight characteristic and differ only in detailing. A prerequisite for creation of the models of such level is access to a prototype and the availability of accurate drawings. This opportunity was provided by the Yakovlev Design Bureau experts, who contributed much to the project. For the accurate reproduction of the various elements, a lot of walkarounds and more than 7,000 photos of the prototype were made. Later at the World Championship, the most biased and respected judges would not be able to find any difference with the prototype. The next step was a computer 3D design, which is the must in the creation of a model of such complexity. In fact, the entire aircraft is made in a computer. That is where they also check the working of kinematics of the landing gear, control surfaces, flaps, and other moving parts. Then three-dimensional model of the plane with all the parts and mechanisms will be embodied in material. Production of mods and compacted parts was carried out in high-tech, usually rented equipment. The latest composite materials were used when creating the model. Special attention was paid to the weight of each component part and every gram was taken in consideration. Belonging to the large class is specific and therefore has its complexity in the calculations. One of the most important requirements for a flying model is the optimal combination of structural straight with a minimum possible flight weight. To meet this requirement, it is necessary to take into account the limitation of the drive weight, up to 20 kilograms, quite large dimensions, the twin-turbine propulsion system, and numerous details of the finishing as well. Thanks to the wing of complex shape with a strong and flex mechanization and slotted flaps, Yak-130 has excellent flight characteristics. Model representation of the wing with a fully functional reproduction of mechanization requires a special skill. As a matter of fact, in flight, aerodynamics loads on some constructional elements go up to 100 or more kilograms. Unfortunately, they couldn't test the model in the wind tunnel of Central Aero and Hydrodynamics Institute. A 5 years queue of Chinese companies became an insurmountable obstacle for the team. They had to be creative and come up with a new invention. For testing, they made a special stand which allows to use sport car instead of wind tunnel. With a head wind at the speed of 180 km an hour, the incoming flow reaches 200 km an hour. This is enough to test the straight of wings and tail surfaces and resistance to flutter. They came across a serious problem during the preparation of the power plant. A manufacturer of quality turbines of appropriate size and thrust postponed production for several months. However, the available engines did not have sufficient reliability. They had to select the most stable engines. Nevertheless, in spite of the update, they even replaced an electronic control unit. The problem was solved only partially. Propulsion still remained very sensitive to external condition. Instability of the engine, especially on transitional modes, appeared from time to time. The World Championship was to take place in less than 3 months, and a prototype model was hastily being prepared for the first flight in no time. In April 2011, Yak-130 made its first flight. After takeoff and the set of minimum safe altitude, it performs minimum of figures to determine the stability and control. The main purpose of the test was to ensure the airworthiness of the aircraft and log features on the landing. Obedient and impeccable behavior of the model fulfilled all expectations. It was the first and very significant victory, a kind of the turning point in the Yak-130 RUSJET project.
To
pilot a jet model is very difficult, especially when it comes to testing or competition flights. It requires extreme focus of attention and absolute clarity of action in model navigation. When piloting, the one who is standing nearby is also very important. Usually, the one nearby is commonly referred to as a coach, an assistant, and a navigator. However, we are the crew. The outcome of each flight largely depends on the interaction and understanding in the crew. It is an aeromechanical engineer Pavel Lapshov who is next to me for many years. He is competent specialist in the field of flight dynamics of aircraft, an aeromodeler with 18 years experience. His personal contribution to the Yak-130 RUSJET project cannot be overemphasized. Pavel Lapshov is a graduate of the Faculty of Aircraft Design of Moscow Aviation Institute, candidate Master of Sports, chairman of the Skier Model Committee of the Federation of Aeromodeling Sport of Russia, the head of the RUSJET Club since 2004.
Все, тогда сейчас суть в чем? Что носок переходит.
Да, но в посадочном сделай побольше, буду добавлять еще леруны.
Так, что мы сейчас делаем? Перестановки оцените, попробовать гироскоп и пилотаж. Нос. Интересно, может быть, попробовать посмелее следующий, так, придержать. Пошел. Поздно потянули и опять ушел вправо. 2 щелчка влево. Хотя бы добиться чего-то ровного. Пораньше это все делать, чтобы видеть. И крен видеть, чтобы не над головой. Чуть-чуть получше, да?
Ну, чуть-чуть, да.
Ну, давайте еще щелчочек влево. Крен убрать, крен убрать.
Да, влево уходит.
По-моему, нет. Хотя с учетом ветра.
Ну, немножко поддувает, может и нет. Но если есть,
Вот,
то это...
Вот. Ну, это уже сам, да?
это он
Ну,
сам.
давайте пару щелчков вправо убрать, может. Потому что и так уже очень сильно оттренировали.
Да.
Вот сейчас, по идее, был момент забора воздуха. 7,5, шасси выпуск. Право чуть-чуть. Рано поставили. Не было выдерживания. На 3 точки почти.
Видишь, какая скорость на посадке. Значит, нужно подбирать газ.
Газу бы ему не помешало действительно. Надеяться на то, что ниже добавить.
In each flight, for objective analysis, they conducted videography, including onboard cameras. They monitored the status of the fuel system, the work of mechanization landing gear, and the behavior of the aircraft in various flight modes. After each flight, they adjusted control settings and gradually improved fuel delivery system. The construction of the model itself was refined, as in the case of H-flaps, when an unintended behavior of leading edge flaps was seen filming at the next viewing. During vigorous maneuvering, leading edge flaps deflected upwards above the permissible limits. At large angles of attack, it can lead to disruption and breakdown of the flow into a spin. Drive's leading edge flaps had been finalized and mechanical restrictors were installed on the wings. In parallel, the scale model of Yak-130 for competition was built. In this model, as opposed to training model, special emphasis was given to every detail of reproducible model. An enormous amount of precise work was performed in a short time. Smallest elements and controls, equipment and pilot ejection seat were manufactured with the utmost precision. For the first time in the history of modern aero modeling, the cabin aircraft modeling was performed with such a high-level accuracy. It was almost virtually impossible to distinguish a visual model from the prototype. Very little time was left until the start of the championship. Just in a month, the model had to go to the United States. They had to force the preparations for the first flight. There wasn't any time to fix possible errors. In June 2012, the accurate replica of Yak-130 rose the sky. The model behavior during the flight was in exact accordance with its prototype. Thus, another important milestone was successfully passed. It was the next victory and the confirmation of accurate calculation. Regular flight tests took place in a normal mode, although there were still some problems with the engines.
Во втором полете, в самом начале восходящей
During the second flight, in the start climbing for the figure G roll, one engine stopped. The plane was in a vertical position when it abruptly lost the speed and control became sluggish. It even seemed that the model was no longer controlled. The aircraft carries a sort of a bell, drop a nose, and goes down with the almost sheer dive. I see that there is almost no altitude. that flight could have become the last one, the model survived only because of Vitaly's pilot experience and excellent handling of the Yak at extreme modes. It was close to the main stage of completion of the project. The evening before sending the model to US, they work out flight program performance, which is similar to dress rehearsal. Suddenly, one of the most dangerous failures of the whole period of flight program occurred.
When
doing the next figures, the plane began to rock in, roll and pitch. For a moment, it was a refusal of radio, but when it became clear that the controls worked, I made a control passage and understood the reason of the gain. The swinging leading-edge flaps on the right wing changed angle spontaneously. In this case, the slow speed before the landing approach might reduce the effectiveness of the rudders and therefore cause a complete loss of the model. Vitaly took the only right decision, a landing approach at high speed without flaps, actually an emergency operation. After landing, a break of leading was revealed. With such a failure, there is almost a 100% chance of a crash. Once again, the model was saved because of the skills and high self-control of the pilot. For complex repair and rework, there were only a couple of hours. They were going to do an imminent replacement of the mechanisms in both edge flaps wings, and therefore that night was going to be sleepless. But after such a serious changes in the aircraft structure, at least one test flight is required. However, the runway was available for model only before sun rising. Later, during scheduled flight of military aircraft, the airfield would be inaccessible. In this situation, they had to work off a check flight almost at night. Only after a successful landing of Yak and endless tension of the past month went away. There were new tests ahead, new frontiers, and the fight for the World Championship. United States of America, Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Base. It is a famous airfield in the homeland of Wright brothers. There is also a well-known museum of the United States Air Force here. In summer of 2011, this largest airfield became a place of radio-controlled scale jet world championship. 250 participants from 50 countries presented 50 models in 2 classes.
Our friends from Russia!
Russia's national team with the 5 best model aircraft crew of the countries participated for the first time. team arrived in Dayton a few days earlier to have an extra time for additional training flights and adapting to the hot climate. So did some of the teams of other countries. To watch workouts of the competitors is not only interesting but useful in many ways as well. However, it turned out that participation of the Russian modelists that day failed. Our cargo has now arrived and no one knows where it is. The models of some teams haven't arrived either, so the organizers of the competition cannot set a date of the beginning of the championship yet. It was a very unpleasant surprise. Well thought out strategy of additional training was in jeopardy. Deeply puzzled by the fact the Russian team left the airport before others. All the participants of the championship suffered from troubles as well. In the evening of the same day, they got the news of the severe storm over the airfield. Nature didn't spare any models at the airport. Some of them were completely destroyed and could not be recovered. The models of South Africa's team were damaged most of all. Air modelists from South Africa are outstanding people, qualified engineers and pilots. Our team met them at another championship in South Africa in 2003, in which RUSJET first appeared as a participant. The South Africa's team models were real contenders to win. The storm didn't leave them a chance to win. The fate of the cargo of Russian models still remained an unsolved mystery. Meanwhile, the models restored after the hurricane resumed flying. New participants went on arriving. Only one day was left for the Russian training flights. Eventually, the team idleness and uncertainty started to be treated with a sense of humor. I hope that our models are not drowned. We have to find out. It will be difficult to complete without the aircraft. I want to say hello to my mom. Today's waiting finished only late in the evening. Finally, British cargo with the models arrived at the airfield. Urgently, they had to assemble the models under artificial lights to be ready for the last training day. Training flights are one of the important parts of the championship program. At this stage, sportsmen adapt for local conditions, they observe and analyze rivals' flights. Models of the best world modelists go aloft one after another. Contingencies seem to be a part and parcel of the championship. Next morning, one more surprise of 100% humidity had its effect. An impressive layer of condensate was only a reflex of the problem. During the night, the model sucked with moisture gain unwanted 10 grams, and the condensate jeopardized the reliability of electronics. Probably due to this reason, they came across the electric circuits and engines failure at its first startup. We cannot start the engine. The problem is likely to correspond with the high humidity. As a result, the first training model was ready to take off in the evening. The fight with the electronics and the turbines was not the only stressful situation that day. During a regular workout, Swiss team lost one of the most successful model. Loss of control was most likely due to electronic failure.
Yes, please. We'll probably be out of here in 5-10 minutes. Everything is on top here.
Of course, the accident with the Swiss aircraft increased the motion and tension, as the collapse of the model occurred right before the first training flight of Yak. We have to compete with chief pilots, whose job is aero modeling, while for us it is a hobby. However, we are determined to win and came to America for victory. Yak-130 RUSJET caused genuine interest of specialists and enjoyed great popularity among all participants and guests of the championship. Long before the championship, experts, enthusiasts and fans watched the creation of this model online. Many people especially came to Dayton to see the magnificent flight of Yak and personally expressed their admiration to its creator and a pilot. According to preliminary reviews made by experts, the model had a real chance to win.
What do you think about this model Yak-130?
I have followed this model Yak-130 in a series of articles in Jet Power magazine for probably 6 months now. And from the earliest article I was impressed with it before I even saw the full-size airplane because of the quality of the draftsmanship, the 3D technology that was being used in CAD to develop the components. And I read each article in great detail. I've been a scale designer for at least 15 years. I've designed many jets. The Learjet, I'm now currently working on a Gulfstream 4. I've designed the Skyray F4D. I've competed with these airplanes throughout the United States and they've done well. But this is by far and away the most impressive model airplane I have ever seen in my life. And the quality of the design is beyond anything I could ever imagine at a hobby level. It is truly aerospace technology. It has detail like I have never seen in any other model. And it's done intelligently. It's done with a lot of thought, and also the reason that the Yak or the MiG-130 was selected fits all of the qualifications that I look for when I select a subject. You want an airplane that has enough internal volume that you can carry engines, radio gear, fuel, and not stuff things together with a lot of difficulty and have to eliminate structure. It has got enough wing area that it will fly very docilely. It has enough tail surface that it's very easily controllable. I just think that it's an excellent subject, and I think that it was executed beyond my wildest dreams. I congratulate you sincerely on probably the finest model that I've ever seen in my life.
For this class of scale models, bench assessment has a significant impact on total score. The quality of documentation and compliance with the prototype of each and every item is subject to fixed judge examination. The model got the highest score in the history of the Championship of International Jet Model Committee, IJMC. Although at the previous championships Vitaly was also a leader according to a static evaluation of the models, Yak-130 provided a steady lead over the strongest competitors. In this championship, a new approach to the creation of models of this class was demonstrated. They claimed a high standard of quality and copy resemblance in scale aero modeling.
I'm TJ Royans. I'm an American. I used to be in the United States Air Force at one time. I fly RC airplanes, and now I'm here covering the World Jet Masters for the AMA magazine, Model Aviation, which is the American governing body for RC. It's great to be here in Dayton, Ohio, the birthplace of aviation. The Yak, I saw your video on YouTube of how you guys put it together, the design that went into it, all the work that went into it was very impressive. And I can say, being here, seeing it with my own eyes, the video doesn't even do it justice. It is an absolutely beautiful model. I can't wait to see it fly. I hope you guys do very well in competition with it.
They had to compete in extreme conditions, in sweltering 40-degree heat and absolute humidity. Equipment did not withstand and just overheated. Electronics broke out. Even the most experienced aero modelers had serious difficulties during the flights. The time of the first flight test of Yak-130. The first official flight at the championship was approaching. They had to perform in the middle of a day, the hardest and difficult period. The first impression after taking off was the lack of engine power for dynamic maneuvers. In fact, there was a common failure of one engine. Vitaly took the risky decision to continue the flight with one engine running. Basically, it is possible to perform aerobatics with thrust of only one engine, but provide more space for figure approach. However, at large distances, visual control of the model deteriorates and the reliability of the radio control reduces. In this case, even a momentary loss of signal may cause loss of the model. Furthermore, insufficient thrust requires high pilot's precision, especially on vertical maneuvers. However, Vitaly masterfully managed to control the model and actually worked in an emergency flight program. The flight was carried out so gracefully that for many viewers, emergency was unnoticed. Reaction of the public and experts estimate exceed all expectations. Model Yak-130 was recognized as the pearl of the championship, which turned to be a sort of Audience Choice Award. After landing, Vitaly confirmed that brief loss of control had happened to be. was, of course, a unique in its complexity flight, during which between me and Pavel there constantly appeared the question of termination of the performance. However, failed flight could significantly reduce the chances of overall result. In fact, in case of an abnormal situation in the second or third rounds, a victory will be in a serious doubt. Experience and intuition suggested that we break through, but when apart from engine even control broke out, at that very moment intuition got a few strong words spoken eventually through. A moment later, control was recovered. Once again, I thought gracefully of the creators of the Yak-130. Indeed, the aircraft can fly on one wing. The further course of our fight in the championship depended on the flight outcome of the second round, provided flawless execution of the flight programs and no failure equipment time. In this flight, Vitaly carried out the program brilliantly, showing aerobatic capabilities of Yak.
Очень волнительно, и волновался из-за управления, и волновался, как что будет по сигналу.
I was very nervous before this flight, but the flight went normally. Control and engines worked steadily. The result of the second flight is very important. It is an official flight. It is always more difficult to fly in the middle of a day, because the feeling of expectation and general tiredness creates additional tension before start. After all, it is important not only to show the result on the stand, but also in flights. It is also depends on the equipment and the weather as well. In hot weather, the engines work at the limits, and as a consequence, fuel consumption rate increased. Although the turbine could stand hot test, premature fuel use caused shutdown of one engine. Fortunately, it happened just at the time of landing. The second engine had only just enough kerosene to reach the flying line. The enthusiastic reaction of the audience and congratulation of the competitors left no doubt about the fact that the title had already been gained. Soon the victory was officially confirmed. For the rivals, total result became unreachable, and further fight for the world title was worthless. According to the stand results and two flight tours, Vitaly's victory was convincing and undeniable. Here we faced the most extreme weather conditions. During 6 World Championships where I participated, I haven't come across such severe conditions. Even in Israel it wasn't so hard. So let's see what will happen in third round. Just wait and see. Participation in the third round didn't look like competition anymore. It turned into showing respect to the rivals and guests of the championship. On the other hand, in view of recent critical situations, the probability of loss of the model remained quite high. In the team there were hot debates about the reasonability of third flight. However, Vitaly behaved like a true winner in the best traditions of IJMC. Another brilliant flight of Yak-130 was performed by Vitaly Robertus. This was a Venice flight.
Но мы именно с таким настроем и приехали сюда, в Америку, побеждать.